Hi, everybody. I'd like your help with this small experiment. If you have a phone, can you please grab it, put it in your hand, and hold it up? Now, everybody, take a look around the room and see how many phones you see. And then take your phone and put it screen down in your lap. This is an image of the Milky Way galaxy. Let's just experience it together. Okay. That was 1 minute. That was 1 minute. So just be attentive to your reactions to that 1 minute. How many of you had this kind of a reaction? Why are we doing this? If you had that reaction, raise your hand. Keep it raised for the next question, which is, I should check my phone. How many of you had the impulse to grab a hold of your precious and just look? Keep your hand up from the first question still. How long is this going to last? Did you think that was long or short? Long. A minute's a long time. And how many people had some anxiety or uncertainty during that process? So look around and see how many people had strong reactions to the simple experience of just sitting for 1 minute looking at something. That's not something we do much of these days. You might describe it as mental wandering. Just kind of purposeless, non-directed time where you gaze at something like the galaxy, but you're not necessarily involved in a kind of goal-oriented activity. You're not doing anything in particular. Some psychologists would call this the default mode. It's a mode of consciousness that has been with us throughout our evolution and something we are supposed to experience pretty regularly. But these days, most of us don't seek out moments like this. We are always on, all the time, always connected. From the moment we wake up in the morning till the time we go to bed at night, we are always moving forward onto the next thing, onto the next distraction or the next activity. So we don't get a lot of these moments of just quiet or stillness or wandering. We don't do that much, and that's a problem, and here's why. There's a connection between moments of stillness and moments of wonder. Moments of stillness cultivate moments of wonder. And in this case, we could define wonder as the experience of mystery, the experience of something profound or deep or elusive, something that draws our attention in ways that are surprising and passionate and powerful. Wonder is one of the most important human feelings. And you could say that wonder is the fusion of the personal and the universal. It's that moment, that unexpected moment, where we're not necessarily doing anything, and then something happens. So the cultivation of wonder is a large piece of what we need in our society now and what we don't get enough of. When we look at the past, when we look at the history of human cultures, we find that wonder and moments of stillness are paired and famously contribute to a whole host of developments in the arts and sciences and human culture. Typically, there's 3 ways it happens. One is meandering, just walking. If you look at the history of science in particular, you see that so many scientific discoveries were made just by walking. People walking in parks, people walking on the beach, people aimlessly meandering through mountain passes, all kinds of things like that. Another activity that's deeply correlated with wonder is gazing, as we did at the Milky Way. Just looking at something. Just sitting on a bench, sitting in a chair, looking at something. And then the last one I really like is bathing. Taking a shower, being in the bath, just hanging out. Swimming in the ocean, sitting in a hot tub. There's something about being in water that cultivates moments of wonder. And you may notice in yourself that you might get your best ideas in the shower. This is a well-documented, externally validated, placebo-controlled, double-blind study-validated method of getting creative ideas in the shower. So the cultivation of wonder directly comes out of these kinds of moments of stillness. You don't get the wonder without the stillness. There's 2 examples of this that I want to give you. The first involves the Great Caiman. This is a story that I heard several times while I was on trips in the Amazon rainforest with students searching for wonder. We'd go into the jungle for a month and hang out, searching for wonder. In this story, which is a mythopoetic narrative about the night sky, in this story there's a great caiman. Caiman's a kind of crocodile. A massive caiman that stretches itself across the heavens. It's dark and ancient and colossal and is trying to destroy the world, basically. And around the caiman, constraining the caiman, are the gods and heroes of the story. And they're locked in battle, the caiman and the gods and heroes. And the universe is held in tension in this great battle that is taking place every day in the sky. Now you can see the mouth of the caiman where the arrow is. It's near the end, and the kind of mouth, the top of the jaw, angles up like this. And the caiman is always trying to close his mouth and destroy the world. And eventually, in this story, when the caiman succeeds in closing his mouth, the world will end. The universe will end. So there are entire series of stories connected to this simple tension between the forces of light and the forces of darkness. A whole corpus of stories, a whole series of cultures in which this conversation is still, even today, very present. And all of this literature, all of this storytelling, all of this mythopoetics comes out of a very simple experience, which is people sitting together at nighttime, gazing up at the heavens and wondering about it. What is it? What does it mean? What can we know about it? It's mysterious, unanswerable in some way. But there it is, and we can gaze at it, and we can construct whole narratives. Every culture's done this. Whole mythopoetic ideas about what the universe means. The second example will use the same photograph. But in this case, we're going to talk about science, and about astronomy in particular. Astronomers have been looking at the sky for a long time, and most of what we know about the night sky now, and about the cosmos from an astronomical point of view, comes from astronomers who started stargazing as kids. They'd go out in the backyard and look up at the heavens and wonder, what is it? What can we know about it? What does it mean? And many of those kids grew up to become astronomers who now use machines and tools to look at the cosmos, but it's the same wonder. They're always searching for wonder. Now, as you probably know, astronomers have recently discovered that there's a giant black hole at the center of our galaxy. It's called Sagittarius A. And it is basically trying to swallow the whole galaxy. And it's held in tension by the forces of gravity and the forces of all the other matter in the galaxy. And the tension between this force trying to suck everything in and the force of the spiraling of the galaxy trying to throw everything apart creates a perfect equilibrium between the forces of light and the forces of darkness. Now, the center of the galaxy, where that black hole is just above where you can see the arrow in this image. The arrow is not pointing to the center of the galaxy, it's pointing to the teapot, which is an asterism, a collection of stars. It doesn't look a lot like a teapot, just like everything else in the heavens doesn't look like what it's supposed to be. But this is called the teapot, and you can see it in the night sky unaided. And the teapot is a kind of little square structure with a little top. And if you imagine that steam is coming out of the top of the teapot, that's the galactic center. And the galactic center, where the black hole is hidden from us. It's hidden by these dark dust clouds that undulate across the spine of the Milky Way. And those dark clouds of dust have the exact shape as the Great Caiman in the previous story, because that's what we can see. The dark clouds obscure the light behind them and create a dark shape. And what's interesting is that the black hole is at the exact location where the opening of the mouth of the Caiman is in the previous example. So these two cultures, one approaching it from a mythopoetic cultural point of view, one approaching from a scientific astronomical point of view, arrived at the same conclusions. They have the same story with different language. And that story is about the tension between the forces in the galaxy, in our cosmos. The tension between the force of destruction, the force of darkness, the force of nothingness, and the force of light, the force of openness, the force of expansion and momentum and creation. And so much of both of these examples is simply about wonder. People gazing up at the night sky in wonder. So, there's a path of wonder. There's a path in both of these examples. Wonder helps to connect us with ourselves and with other people. The fusion of the personal and the universal. Wonder helps us to grapple with these big, unsolvable, mysterious questions about the nature of ourselves or the universe. And wonder also helps us to find pathways to meaning. In both of the examples I gave, the cultures derive great meaning from the experience of gazing upward and developing and crafting stories of meaning from the experience of gazing. So there's a path of wonder. And it all derives from these simple experiences of sitting, gazing, looking, walking, meandering, bathing. So the challenge we have right now is that we have lots of small wonder in our society. We are constantly on, we're constantly connected. We get diverted from big questions very easily by constant distraction. We get diverted and disconnected from ourselves and others because we're constantly finding information, being connected to technology, and rushing. And that accumulation of distraction creates a momentum of its own where we just skip over the surface of things. We get small, piecemeal wonders. Little moments where we go, oh, that's really cool, but there's not really any deep meaning in it. And we do that again. We do that 100 times a day. It's kind of like addiction. It is a kind of addiction, really. Addiction to small wonder. And this creates big problems. So many of the issues we face, particularly mental health challenges and social challenges, are about the fact that we're moving toward a society where we don't slow down enough to open ourselves to what we ordinarily don't see. We're always looking forward, never being still. And so, in my work with young people in education, I am increasingly finding that there are many young people who wander, who wander purposelessly. They're typically distracted all the time. They typically get addicted to gaming or other kinds of activities that they know are not necessarily very good for them, but they can't extract themselves from the process. I work with a lot of depressed and anxious university students who feel like they're on some kind of treadmill to keep going, keep moving, keep going. They don't feel like they can slow down. for that moment of wonder. And that disconnects them from themselves. In my addictions work, I see the same thing, whether it's substance use or technology addictions. Addiction, in a way, is about an escape from wonder. So those small personal problems are, of course, connected to the bigger problems we have in society, with climate change, global conflict, poverty, those kinds of things. The personal is fused with the universal, and the bridge between them is the experience of wonder. So what we need is more wonder, more authentic wonder, not piecemeal wonder, but authentic wonder that only comes from the experience of stillness, quiet, slow, mindful, open, curious wonder. So today is a great opportunity for us to experience this. Think about all the presentations we've seen and the fact that most of them, all of them I would say, are in one way or another about wonder, about the discovery of wonder. And think about how many of the presenters have talked about small moments, small, unexpected, directionless moments in which suddenly something magical occurs. Not because it was planned, not because they deliberately moved toward it, but because it was unexpected. And it came at a moment of stillness, a moment of quiet, a moment of non-action. So if we were to make a commitment to that kind of wonder in an ongoing way, we could start to practice right now with that. So let's do that. This is an image of the Hubble Ultra Deep Field. There are about 3,000 galaxies in this image. That's about the same number as the stars in the first image that we looked at. So let's just experience this together. Again, 1 minute. Thanks for being here. Keep searching for wonder.